Hey there, global citizens. Welcome back to the Global Talks, your podcast dedicated to uncovering the joys and challenges of global citizens. My name is Susanne, and I am with Global Citizen Solutions. We are a boutique investment migration consultancy helping expats to find their ideal citizenship by investment program outside their birth country. So, have you started your quest to find your ideal retirement location? If you're looking to stretch your retirement pension a bit further, then a move abroad may be the answer. But there are a few factors you should consider when you start your research, including maybe low cost of living, a good sense of community, contacts with nature, and a good healthcare system, of course, just to name a few. To help you on this journey, we have invited 3 expat pros to share their tips on how to retire overseas. So joining us today are Dr. Simon Hudson and his wife, Louise Hudson, authors of the book, A Worldwide Guide to Retirement Destinations. Also with us is Susanne Diabate, a former HR professional who made the move from California, USA to Sintra in Portugal last year with her partner and her 2 dogs. Welcome everyone, bem-vindo, Susanne and Simon and Louise, bom dia. Simon and Louise, they're joining us from the Algarve, am I correct? Is that where you guys are located now? Yes? And Susanne is in Sintra, but right now joining us in our office in Lisbon. Thank you very much to have you here. Right, so let's jump on to understanding the lives of people who decide to retire out of their birth country, which I think it could be daunting, and it require a lot of research, and therefore I think you guys could help a lot our viewers who are starting in this process now of researching where they're going to go. Anyway, so let's start with some questions. So about the book, Simon and Louise, fantastic. I read it all, and I got lots of tips now, and there's some interesting stats that I would like to share. So in general, if you guys haven't seen the book before, A Worldwide Guide to Retirement Destinations is a book providing insightful information on retirement destinations around the world. It's all based on research that was done by Simon and Louise, and also it includes some interesting testimonials from people that retired on the in the areas approached in the book. So I wanted to know why you decided to write this book, and if it was based in your own quest to find a retirement destination. Simon and Louise.
Yes, it was, and a couple of reasons really. We wrote the book. The first was, yes, we spent 20 years in North America. We're originally from Europe, and we thought we'd eventually want to come back and retire in Europe. Weren't sure where. And when we started looking and doing our research, we found there's very little sort of comprehensive guidance. There's lots of one-off books of retiring Costa Rica, or rankings, or certain research, certain countries, but not looking at the world as a whole. The second reason was I was involved in a project when I was in America, working at the University of South Carolina, looking at attracting retirees. States had realized that retirees are a very attractive target market to build economies, and so I was involved in that. So I had quite a bit of data on today's retiree, the new retiree. So there was already a lot of the work done, and then Louise joined me to write the book, and you might have something else to add?
Sure, yeah. One thing that we noticed was, we've been traveling the world for the last 30 years with our work, if not even longer, and living abroad, in many different countries around the world. The retiree has become a different phenomenon over maybe the last sort of 20 years of that. And whereas before maybe considered a sort of burden on an economy, i.e. they could be using up too much of the healthcare, and not really spending as much money as the working public. But now research has revealed that that's exactly the opposite. that their spending habits are driving economies rather than draining them. And, it's palpable here where we live in the Western Algarve. Everywhere you go, whether it's the shops, the restaurants, the bars, sports facilities, and not just the golf clubs, every sport, especially the new sport, which is sweeping the Algarve, called paddle. And of course the healthcare facilities, but quite often it's the private healthcare facilities that you're paying a lot of money for. These places are full of people over 50 who are from countries all over the world that have found this as, to be their dream location for a retirement lifestyle. And it's the lifestyle part that's the most important.
Yes, I agree. And I see you nodding a lot, Susanne. Do you want to add something here? Was that also your experience?
It definitely, we have something in common here. I was originally born in Europe, in Germany, and also lived in the US for almost 40 years. And I became a little bit unhappy with the situation in the US in regards to crime, political nature, not being able to have a lot of time to socialize. And I looked at Portugal, and it was by accident. And I agree in terms of healthcare, very important. Can you get Social Security here? That's no problem either. And a community where I feel at home again. Mm-hmm. And those were very important factors.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed that happened and you guys have in common, which is you guys are very seasoned in traveling and moving abroad. You were born in one continent and lived your life in one place and then moved to another place. And so I guess like doing research on where you will find your retirement destination is difficult, but it's something that you might be familiar with. How do you think people that never, they never relocated, they stayed in the city where they were born, and but they know that nowadays in this day and age you could go somewhere else and have a better lifestyle. How did they start this research? How did they find out where to go? Which destinations are offering something benefits in terms of tax, or do you have any tips to share on that matter?
Well, yeah, I think traditionally, and you just mentioned about people retiring, staying closer to home. Still, a vast percentage of retirees do stay close to home. They don't venture don't even venture to another state, let alone another country. But because we're more experienced travelers, I think the average traveler goes to 7 different countries, has been to 7 different countries. We travel the world, we got more experience. And so people have already done a little bit of research, even if their intention wasn't to retire to another country. So my advice would be, first of all, do your research. We had some friends recently who spent a winter down here. They rented, they didn't come down and buy. They said, is this the place we want to live? And they rented a place to see whether they liked it. So I think it's very important to do your research. Maybe, test the waters. Don't sort of sell up and move in straight away. And I think that be flexible, be prepared for changes. Things, visa systems, the bureaucracy. Sometimes it can be a little bit different to your own country. I definitely think, but doing your research is very important, and that's where hopefully our book comes in handy, because we've looked at the different tax systems, healthcare systems, visa systems in each country, and of course that changes. An increasing number of countries right now are going after the younger retirees, the digital nomads, people who are still working but want to take their businesses or work part-time. Do you have something to comment on that?
Well, we did, as Simon said, we did a lot of research about what made a country more attractive from the retiree point of view. And, so we came up with different categories to look at that worry people. So the person sitting at home is worried, as I get older, what will the healthcare be like? Will anyone understand me at the hospital if I've got some symptoms, And, that is a major worry, I would have thought. Financial worries are the next thing, and social and sort of connection worries are another thing that people consider all of these categories we covered in our book for each continent and then specific countries, so that you could do a comparison to see how many boxes each country or destination within the country particularly would tick, that made you feel safe and secure. At the same time, if you go onto Facebook and Google the area through Facebook, through the search option, Google the area that you're thinking of moving to, and you maybe put in the word expat or group or something, you will come up with so many groups of people who are thinking of retiring to a certain area, or they're already there. They're all offering each other the most practical advice, from the tiniest minutiae, up to the most important residency requirements and that sort of thing. And you can get into a community of like-minded retiree migrants before you even go. So, I belong to all of these groups. I found them when I was initially doing the research for the book. Through those groups, I found some really important people that ended up giving us fantastic interviews and insights for the book. So, with social media these days, with the kind of connectivity we've got, the networks are huge. And, you can find out a lot of real, down-to-earth, everyday information about the place that you're maybe thinking of, or it can help you pinpoint the place, But as Simon said, feet on the ground is the most important thing. You've got to do a bit of traveling to get a vibe. You've got to find, you're not finding just a town, you're not finding just a house. You're finding somewhere where you can envisage a lifestyle that would suit you and would have opportunities.
I agree. Susanne, do you have anything to add?
I definitely agree that I think in general, because of the size of Europe, people travel more around. In the United States, if you drive 20 hours, you still have the same language, very often the same culture. And so the tendency to stay home and not even consider moving somewhere else, I agree that's definitely there. And now that, like you said, we have the digital nomads who are younger, they definitely start to consider that. And I have to say, I wish I would have had the Hudson's book. I also did a lot of research. There's a lot of information, and trying to put that together in one book, that's just wonderful.
Yeah. And I must say, I read the whole book, and it's packed with information. It's not only stats. The stats are very interesting. I'm going to share two here, which I think it's important to situate and help our viewers to understand the importance of why destinations are targeting so much on retirees.